Well, it's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you for the invitation. A little bit about myself. Prior to working at GSA, I worked 10 years at George Washington University. Ran our property management and customer service division. Prior to that, I worked at the Department of Education for 3 years in the Office of Management. And prior to that, I worked at the University of Georgia and was the business manager for the housing department at the University of Georgia. So it's an honor for me to be here today, and I really enjoy these opportunities, and it's going to be me talking a little bit, but at the end of this, I really kind of want to hear your thoughts on how we can work better together with GSA in Prince William County. A little bit about GSA, just to give you a little background on it. Our mission really is to provide workplaces. We are also at acquisitions. We buy a lot of stuff, automobiles, get a huge fleet. We also do a lot with small businesses. The National Capital Region last year issued just over $330 million worth of contracts to small businesses in the area, and some of them from Prince William. So I think that's important to realize that we have a big impact in the area. As the federal government's lead acquisition state area, we really do the professional services, we build government agencies, we help the military. We're here to promote best practices. In a nutshell, GSA encompasses totally throughout the United States just under 12,000 employees, number of contractors. We oversee over 371 million square feet of real estate. Either we own it or we lease it. Most of it, 55% is leased, 45% is owned. And we do approximately $54 billion in annual contracts throughout the United States. And we're a big buyer and supplier for all the federal agencies. And so when you think of GSA, people think of the real estate part of it. We're also the big acquisition part of it. And so as a regional administrator, I have one of the smallest regions. It is the smallest region, but it's also what I call the more powerful region in the sense that 30% of our real estate is within this National Capital Region, which encompasses DC, Southern Maryland, which is Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and then it has Prince William County in Virginia, Loudoun County, Fairfax, Alexandria, and Arlington. So we have I like to think of it as a donut. It's basically, if you picture a donut, we're the donut hole, stuff in the middle. But it's pretty critical what we do. We have 1/3 of the GSA's nationwide real estate inventory, and we lease, and our budget's over $1.8 billion a year, which when you think of that, the whole budget for GSA is $5.4 billion, so we have the biggest chunk of money here. We also have the largest portfolio of our historic building inventory, which is 150 buildings in this area, which is 30% of GSA's historic building inventory. And unlike other areas, we have some important customers. I have the White House complex, which can be interesting at times. The Ronald Reagan Building, International Trade Center. We also have the St. Elizabeth's campus, Department of Homeland Security, the FDA White Oak Research Center, as well as the Southeast and Suitland Federal Centers. And we have 5 service centers that basically coordinate all of the functions for those areas in the event things go wrong, things break. So we're a lot of customer outreach. Our customers are challenging. It's a lot of all federal government employees in these areas, and it's also very rewarding because we know we're serving the taxpayer. And one of the reasons we're here today, and I'm here today, is really to get your thoughts on ways that GSA can work better with municipalities such as Prince William County. And I really would enjoy hearing from you some ideas, and we'll go back to the home office and I'll make sure these things get discussed. Typically, when we talk about leasing, we typically look for in leases the lowest price technically acceptable, what is an LPTA. And when I think of that, I always think of that movie Armageddon, where the guy's sitting in the rocket ship and he goes, yeah, we're sitting on 4 million pounds of fuel, rocket fuel, and 250,000 moving parts built by the lowest bidder. It's kind of like the lowest bid thing. So from that perspective, it's kind of interesting. In plain English, we're really here to balance the cost solution for what we need to do for the federal government and what the agency needs to carry out their missions. And that's really what this is about. We have some very specific requirements when it comes to leases. We have to first look at our inventory of what we have in stock. And if we have things that can meet the agency's needs, we won't go out for new leases. However, if we do need, an agency needs to be in a specific part of the region, we do look for locations where they can actually go push that. It's very important for us to make sure that every agency can carry out what they need to do for the taxpayer. As far as Prince William County, you tend probably to get intelligence type groups that move out here because they need to do their mission and they need to be somewhere where they're kind of not in the middle of the mix of everything. And so I think that that's probably where the niche is for that in this county. And I know we're always looking for new options on that. We've got a number of leases that are going to be expiring in future years, and we're always looking for the best value for the taxpayer. A little bit about our leases. Most people don't realize this, but our average lease runs around 23 plus years, which is, people think that's kind of, because we used to only do lease options for like 5 years at a time. We're now going into like we call 10 or 15 year lease options, which are providing greater value for us. It's greater for the people that own the property. It's a win-win for everybody. And we're seeing some really fantastic deals when we go to these 15-year lease options, and that's more of the trend. It also avoids the holdovers on lease extensions and helps people who own the property that can refinance when they need to refinance. And so that's really what we're looking at. We also have to look at towards solutions in a larger metropolitan area. Are we getting the best value? Places like Prince William County provides a top-tier quality of life, great infrastructure, cost savings that benefit both the taxpayer and the agency employees working on their behalf. And so that's really why we look at areas like Prince William County, Loudoun County, because we do tend to get some of our best value in those areas. And people, as far as quality of life for the workers, that's really an important part of why we look at this area. GSA's current location directs us, as I mentioned, to look first within our own area, but then also to basically prioritize what an agency will need. We tend to, if the requirement is over 10,000 square feet, we have to put it out for bid. And we advertise that in the Fed bid. It's Fed Biz Ops, and that's where you'll find these various leases that are out there. And we do market surveys when we need to see where the best sites are, and we look for the best location for the agencies. We then will put out what is called a request for lease proposal, and we'll gather those information. We'll make the best decision. We meet with the agencies. And we kind of really try to figure out what they're looking for as far as what they need to meet their mission. And then we review all the final proposals, and we'll end up kind of picking and selecting the ones that are there best for them. And so, in a nutshell, we're trying to get the best value for the taxpayer. You're the taxpayers. You need the best value. We also try to find locations where folks can actually do and thrive and actually want to work and want to live. And so that's the other part of this equation. I would like to say that ultimately GSA makes the location decisions that meet the federal agency's mission and geographic service areas requirements, but a lot of it is played into transportation, public transportation, and that comes into a lot of our decision making. So that's why a county like this tends to get intel, because they sometimes don't want to be near those major transportation areas. They need to be pushed out kind of in an isolated location where they can actually do their mission and do it to the best of their ability. Our mission is to become partners with everyone out there and really work hard. I'd be really interested, and I guess I'm going to ask the first question, what do you need from us that we're not providing? Is there any?
Let me ask a question. What is how many buildings or how much property do you have in Prince William County compared to some of the other areas?
We have an FBI field office, and then we have some other intel offices, but we don't have a lot of those, but we're looking to expand in other regions, and this is one of the ones where we're kind of pushing people out of DC, because we've learned that we don't have to be in DC to run the government.
Yeah.
It's people out. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. And so it's kind of it's a new area for us. I mean, that's why we're coming out, and that's why I met with Patrick. I think that was like my first person I met with back in February, I think. And because we were out there looking for various options of locations, and when we have over 200 leases that are coming up in the next couple of years, and so we need to be looking at the best value, and Prince William County is a really good value.
And these are existing buildings that you're looking for that can be converted?
There are existing leases that we currently have that we're actually looking, we're going to have to either re-up or find a better value for the taxpayer by relocation.
There are already buildings, you're looking for buildings that are already built though, right? Not just land?
Usually it's space that's already built. In some instances, we will build a building for a specific agency. FDA is a perfect example of that out of White Oak. We built that campus. FDA is expanding leaps and bounds, so we may be building more of that. But right now, those type of capital projects are tough to get funded.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting way the federal government funds it. They kind of give it up to you in a slice every year. That's why the St. Elizabeth's project has taken so long, because some years we didn't get any funding.
But if I had a building or something that I really liked, I mean, aren't people pounding on your door, hey, take a look at us? Or it doesn't work like, I mean, I'd be pounding on your door if I had a building that I thought might.
They do.
Okay.
And they're out there saying, come on, look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, because the rentable square foot, in Virginia, I think it's just under $38 a square foot that we are able to agree in our lease agreements, which is really good.
How long will you go on the leases?
How long will the lease terms be? Yeah. Typically 10 to 15 years, the ones we're looking at now.
No outs?
There is always some out options.
Inside of that term?
Yeah, but we usually have enough people to backfill, so we're always moving. Agencies are always moving. They're pretty mobile. We're always looking for that.
Oh, please go.
Yes.
Often when you issue the RFPs on the large 10,000 square foot facilities and bigger, there's a requirement about close proximity to metro.
Yes.
And obviously there's no metro stations in Prince William, so that eliminates us from
The
competing for
delineated
those.
area, they call it. Yeah.
Right, competing for those. So does the GSA have flexibility that they could look at something like VRE as opposed to metro to offset the commuter element to that, so that we could compete for some of those locations?
We do have a waiver process, which in the event an agency believes that this is the best location, they will try to submit that, and people have been successful, so that you're not out of the running just because you're not near a metro stop. But it really depends on the function of the agency. But there is a waiver process.
Okay, thank you.
And a lot of people don't. They think because they're not near it, they're out of the running. It's not true. I mean, we have several facilities that are not near metro stations.
Good, thanks.
Question?
I was going to say, when I was at GSA several years ago before I retired, that was one of the main criterias, but we would get around it because quite a few agencies that were looking for things, they would even skip over Prince William and go down to Stafford and further south because of the transportation, artery, going down 95 and all like that. So I think that, another thing I was going to say is that the holdovers, when I was at GSA, that was one of the biggest problems. So by extending the term of the lease, I think that's really going to help things quite a bit.
The holdover is a major issue.
That was a major issue, yeah.
I mean, if you own it proper, you can't refinance. It's just it's bad for everybody. It's bad for the taxpayer. It's bad for the people that own it. So we're getting out. That's why we're going more for these 10 to 15 year lease agreements, which I think is really going to make a huge difference. We've seen it already with some of the properties that we've leased out.
And it'll also help in getting better properties to lease out because lessors would want to have a longer lease than this.
Because if you know you're going to be there for 10 or 15 years, I mean, there's a big incentive. And we always know that it's a bit of a risk to the 10 or 15 years, but we know we can usually backfill with some other agency if somebody was to move. What other questions?
So knowing some of the limitations with the metro, not having metro, but with things like the I-66 project, you know, be a big benefit if, you know, to have,
Definitely.
hey, this happened here, everything's gonna be flowing better, we're gonna have more transportation for, you know, you have to use your car and everything
Yeah.
else, so things like that would make.
We have some agencies that don't need to be near a metro system. I mean, they can work in this area just as they can work in Loudoun County. It's just, that's a benefit. Well, what would you, I guess the question is back. I got a couple
Can you
of
talk a
questions.
little bit about what you, when you say quality of life issues are really important for the workforce? What do you mean by that? What do you?
Well, the workforce in the federal government, a lot of folks are retiring. As you know, it's an aging workforce, so the younger people are coming in to the work environment, and they value an area where they want to live, they want to thrive, they want to be there. They don't want to live somewhere where they don't feel like they're part of a community, so they like that community aspect, which I think Prince William County, from what I know from talking with Patrick, he gave me a full tour of the city of Manassas and around here. I met with Mr. Stewart back then and his group. They gave us a tour of the area, and it's a high quality of living, and that's what people look for in a lot of times when they're looking for a job. And that's really what we want to provide our employees. Is there something that, are there other venues or other opportunities that you would like to see people like me or people in my office come to? Are there other things, other events that you have that,
I'm sure.
because we're interested in establishing these relationships and having this dialogue, so I would be really interested.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely keep you in mind for something like that.
I think that, you know, if it's any type of other functions, I mean, it would be really good.
Is there, this is maybe not the place to bring it up, but why not? What is the backstory on the FBI building? Is GSA coordinating that, or you guys?
The FBI wants to stay where they are.
All right.
They made a change where they reduced a number of employees in that building because they're going to move them to West Virginia, Alabama, and Idaho. Over 2,000. So now the people that are remaining there can actually fit in that building. And they like being close to the Justice Department.
Makes sense.
The reality is there's no funding.
Yeah.
Congress hasn't funded, so there's no funding, zero. We're not going to have a new building. That's where we're at. Great question, though.
I don't know where we're going to get that question.
I don't know if my question fits in with this topic or not, but with all of the leasing and the developing, how does that tie into the city public schools and increasing the perception of the city schools?
As far as moving federal employees into the school part of it is a big part of what people look at when they
Right.
are going to live
They want
somewhere.
to work and live in the
Yeah.
community. And the perception of the city schools is just a little bit low, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. And I know with being a realtor, when people are telling me they don't really necessarily want to move to Manassas.
Mhm.
So if we're developing and building, is there going to be some developing and building of the city schools and infrastructure?
Well, I think any infrastructure improvements that a municipality makes is going to help their case when it comes to, finding additional leases and things of that nature.
And I'd just like to say that that's a disappointing comment that you made, Marcia, because I've been involved with the Manassas City Schools on different committees and so forth, and they are doing a phenomenal job on really trying to expand their programs and really vamp up their CTE programs. So I'd just like to say that I think we are very fortunate to live where we are with the educational systems in place in all three jurisdictions.
Now, you're at George Mason.
I am.
Yeah, great university.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's, this area speaks for itself as far as quality of life. It's a great value, and it gets you out. I actually like coming out here because I'm outside of the city. It's just question.
So there's not a lot of vacancy out here. Talk to us about how developers can get involved in build-to-suit opportunities to meet those. A 10 to 15-year lease is bankable. You're a pretty decent credit, so. get something built?
I mean, I guess the question there, Robert probably could, I mean, we're always looking for Class A buildings. So when you build a Class A building, an office space, I mean, that kind of it catches our attention. We're moving a number of agencies into new construction that has been built. Some of it in Alexandria, some of it in Arlington, some of it in Loudoun County. We're moving an agency out there. And so they came to GSA and said, we're going to build X, Y, and Z. Would you be interested in this option? So it's really kind of, I'm hoping from today what you get out of this is that basically if you have people out there that are looking to do this, they come to me and I'll get you to the right person in GSA to talk to. Because they're there to, I mean, they work for you. You pay their salary. That's how I look at that. You do.
So does the development community respond to your space needs with a build-to-suit option, or do your space needs generally stipulate that you're only looking at existing space?
We're usually looking at existing space just because of the build-to-suit option is getting funding for that can be an issue. There's a bit of risk. We try to mitigate the risk part of it. Knowing what's there can be better sometimes. Questions from you?
For small businesses with properties, but with less than 10,000 square feet to lease at any one point in time, how do we get access to knowing what space do you need? Less than 10,000. Is there a website? Do they advertise?
Yeah. Go ahead.
There is a, on the GSA website, if you look for inventory of leased and owned GSA assets, if you just Google GSA leases, we have that all in a database, and one of the things that's included are expiration dates. Now, you might not get as much detailed information as, say, rental rate or what the terms of the deal were, you know, concessions, things like that. But you can get an idea of what's out there and what's needed. Fed Biz Ops is another option. That's where we put all the solicitations for leasing as well as other real estate related needs. So there's maintenance contracts out there, there's contracting opportunities on Fed Biz Ops. It's just something you really have to get in there and play around with. And that's, I studied that website for years. and it's pretty user friendly.
To follow up on the small business part of it, I really do want to emphasize that. We have a very robust small business element within the National Capital Region. Our positive Office of Small Business Utilization, they go out to various municipalities. I will talk to Charles, who works for me, to see when the last time he came out to your community, because we want to make sure that they touch every community. Because $330 million worth of small business contracts, and that ranges from everything, from construction, maintenance, housekeeping, you know, all kinds of full gamut stuff. Is huge, and we did a large small business day-long conference and really kind of help educate people on how to get federal dollars for their small businesses. And so I really push that. It's something I'm passionate about. I have a number of friends that own small businesses, and they are out there, and basically it's you eat what you catch, and that's how it rolls. And so from my perspective,
you are currently the only person in this conference.
I'm the only one. That's really something that we want to make sure happens, and I'll make sure when I connect with Charles in my office when the last time, because what he likes to do is he'll come out and actually have some type of a fair and bring small businesses in, and they answer a lot of questions, because it can be a very overwhelming bureaucratic process unless you know how to navigate it. And so
Jim Jackson, I'm with Rasmussen Engineering. We are a small business, and we have benefited from many of the contracts from GSA. So we do have several contracts right now with you guys, specifically within the NCR. One of the things that we're finding, though, is that because we're not 8A, we are small business, and we are service-disabled veteran-owned small business.
Okay.
We are getting cut out a lot of times because there's been a huge focus on the 8A portion of it. Is there anything that's going to come out? We do tenant fill-outs basically for secure facilities as well. So and he's mentioned some of the places that we're in as well.
So your services will always be needed at some level.
Well, and we're excited about that, and we're hoping to continue to develop that. But it just seems like we're getting cut out just because we're not 8A and we're not big enough to be able to be kind of in the small business and the wide open small business portion of it. But is there going to be anything focusing in on the service disabled veteran and small business sectors like the 8A?
We're actually going to do in November. We're doing a conference that's going to focus specifically on that veteran-owned business, small businesses.
Okay.
I'll give you my card at the end to make sure you get invited.
Good.
We're going to have people over to the NCR region, and we're going to basically talk about what we're going to listen to what you guys tell us.
Okay.
And just kind of take feedback and figure out what we need to do better.
Good.
But I'll make sure that we're planning to do that in the middle of November, I think.
Okay, we'll be there.
What's the typical kind of square footage range that you're looking at for leases? It varies quite a bit.
It varies. I mean, it can be over. A lot of our leases are square footages are large. I mean, it's over 10,000 feet. Majority is 10,000 square feet. I mean, that's why it has to be put out on that FedBiz page, because in how we lease has kind of changed in the sense that we have telework. My actual national capital region is moving. We're moving out of the building that I'm in, the front plaza, to the headquarters building at 1800F. And we're doing that because we're going to save you, the taxpayer, $8 million a year, because we can lease that building out to another agency that wants to use it and fully use it. And we found, we looked at the numbers at the headquarters building, we have a lot of available space because people telework a couple days a week, and just kind of doing that, there's enough space in that building to accommodate all the people in the NCR location. So that factors into your question as far as how big of a space it is, because some agencies, I know at agriculture and education, they're kind of telecommuting less. Other agencies are still kind of going full throttle with it. So that'll dictate a lot about the space issues.
In the case of a small business that requires a large voluminous space, for example, a basketball league that requires 3 basketball width space, does anyone in GSA cater to that specific need?
I don't believe so. Robert, any?
So a small business that requires a large empty space,
Yeah.
you're not, you in particular are not
Yeah.
able to cater.
And I've worked with some of the athletic, a similar group to yours when I worked at George Washington University. We supplied them field space. It was a football program. That we provided them out in Ashburn football practice space.
Something similar. I mean, every once in a while you might have something come in from an individual agency that might not be necessarily GSA, but for a physical kind of activity maintenance contract, or like overseeing the gym or something kind of in that regard. I know, for instance, at our building, we have a private manager of our fitness facility, of our gym, and it's an association, and to be a member of it, you have to pay $30 a month, and it's managed by a third-party vendor. So some of those opportunities may be available through the larger federal government, not necessarily GSA.
See, our dilemma is well over 50% of our budget that these players pay, or that we solicit through fundraising activities, is to rent space for practice.
Yeah.
So our vision is to find a space that would not only take care of that need, but that we can also sublease out for tournaments, leagues, clinics, to other area basketball groups that are in the same bind. You go to the schools in the area, you're paying $55, $60 for an hour of gym space. So other people have found places in industrial parks that are very modest. They're just large open spaces. And they'll build some restrooms and an office space in the corner. And the rest of the space is generally there to lay down a floor, put in some portable baskets, and put in some bleachers. And that's really all we need to do. So we're looking for something in our area here instead of going to Alexandria or further.
I'll give you my card. Let me ask a few people. And see what, I mean, there could be. We don't really. I mean, I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah, not GSA, but I know in Woodbridge, there's some family life centers that have the gym already built in, and people who come in and lease the space. So if you give me information, yeah, some of the churches and different organizations, there's about 3 family life centers that are in Prince William that are really large facilities. They break them up, they sponsor tournaments, all kinds of things. So you give me your information, I'll make sure I can pass that on to you. Ebenezer, yeah, Baptist Church, right there on the Telegraph Road and Minnieville Road.
Yeah. Thanks.
What other questions? I know some people.
What kind of things should we be kind of promoting on our end to make it more attractive for you guys to put leases out here in our area?
Definitely classic buildings. The other one is, just the quality of life. I mean, I think that plays into it. The transportation piece you mentioned is big as well. Getting to and from the area. I think from the intelligent industry that they like locations like this. This kind of gets them out of where they don't want to be. And so I think that's a good starting point.
Scott, is there a culture that we're missing out here that the new generation coming up would want to have in their communities that we don't currently have?
I don't know, Robert, you're in that.
I'm the one in the room.
I want to be where they can entertain.
Work-life balance.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a hard question.
I don't know, where's some good watering holes around here?
There you go.
Coming in a couple days.
I mean, I think a place like Manassas would be attractive to somebody who's not doing what I'm doing at my age, but having the married, starting a family, looking for a good place where they can raise a family. I think that's very important, and I know a lot of my friends that are kind of moving toward that. I'm not anywhere near that right now, but I mean, I know that they have concerns about raising a family in DC. It's expensive. They can't get a lot of house. They can't get a yard. And just the frustrations with riding Metro now. So I mean, Prince William County, Manassas has a great quality of life for that starter family that I think a lot of people find valuable. Also, that a lot of industries in the Alexandria area, so live out here, commute. I know a couple people that do that. And yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good community for that younger, going up to, your retarees that want to get out of DC or that want to be somewhere. So I mean, you got a good thing going on. I've just never, closest I hang out here is the occasional trip out to Jiffy Lube Live. So, but it's a great community, and we love being here. And I know, like Scott was saying, there's some tremendous potential out here, and we already have proven that the FBI field office in Manassas has proven that we can come out here, that we can have a successful agency, a large field office for that.
Was that a build-to-suit, or was that a lease also?
I'm pretty sure it was a build.
It was built to suit.
Yeah, from scratch. I didn't know I didn't think it would be spec. Spec is hard to get when you get an intelligence. They have such unique requirements, but yeah, we'll have to look into more information on that particular project. I bet you report.
Yeah. Back here.
Were there any sort of lessons learned from that FBI field office project that you can share for people to know about for future projects?
The person that basically, I think, designed it and did it is Shapur Abadi, who is really one of our top folks at GSA. And he's running this, I think they use some of the, the build it to suit this particular agency on how they're also doing the St. Elizabeth's campus for the Department of Homeland Security. And I think it's really listening to what the agency requirements are and what the needs are. And if you build it for what they need, they'll be really satisfied with it. I know that the FBI, from what I hear, is very happy with that location for the field office here.
Lisa Richmond was a GSA special that worked on it. She worked from ground up to it. She was a realty contract officer.
Okay.
She's still at GSA.
She's still there, yeah. So I know that probably didn't answer your question. You had a question?
Yeah. In terms of special purpose, my firm is a data center developer and we have a campus. So the question of, do you guys, does the GSA also then manage any sort of data center requirements then, I presume? Is that through your office?
Yeah, we have data center requirements to our office. We also are encouraging a number of agencies to get up to speed. It's basically a technology modernization fund where Congress has authorized, I think it was just over $100 million this year. It's going to be more next year, where various agencies can upgrade their computer systems and get out of their mainframe system into a more modern. And it's basically a loan which they have to pay back within 8 to 10 years. I know HUD was one of the ones, Department of Energy. So there's always options in that field in the federal government.
Okay.
So
I'd like to get your cards then.
Yeah.
Per diem.
Oh, yes.
This area is very hampered by not being included in the per diem rates for the metro area. And it's had a really negative impact on the hotel industry out here. How do we get that changed?
Contrary to popular opinion, we don't just throw a dart at a wall on that end of it, although people may think that. We do have a company, Smith Travel Research, that actually does reach out. And the three things they take into mind are the property selection criteria, which is, what level of hotel is it? The time frame, as far as, how many years are the rates that we go back, and also seasonality plays into it. For certain seasons, that rates charge higher. I know that this county, Prince William County and Loudoun County are very sensitive to this topic, because when we look at $93 or $94 a night, I believe it is, for the hotel, and then in Fairfax it's 200, and it's a pretty wide swath. I can tell you that the data we show from what we're getting from this company supports what the dollar amount is as far as average nights of what they charge. I definitely feel your frustration on this one, and I get asked this a lot. And so the question is, how do we change that? And I don't have a good answer for you. I'm just being completely honest, because we're going off of the research data.
So you can look at it two ways. One way is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. By having an average daily rate of $93 a night, you're suppressing or helping to suppress the average daily rate in the county and the city, so there won't be upward movement.
Yes. It's a very, Loudoun County is extremely sensitive to this as well. You guys are in the same boat. And I know that there were some political folks that were looking into it. People who were running for Congress were looking into this, and that maybe have to be where it gets a little traction. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that point, might be a little bit controversial, but I think when you look at these statistics, you look at them on a jurisdictional-wide basis for the entire county. It's an opportunity to look at maybe sub-markets, because there's very distinct sub-markets.
Definitely.
In Prince William County.
It's the same in Loudoun too.
Yeah.
The top part versus, there's certain sections that are, you're right. So that's been on the table. I know that they've talked about that. But it is a sensitive issue.
It's the same problem with medical reimbursement rates, which isn't you.
Thank God. What other questions can I answer for you today? Again, it's a pleasure to be out here. and I want to come back to do other things. So definitely our small business group, I'm going to make sure we get back out here because, I mean, the businesses and small businesses in this community, I mean, nationwide, I mean, that's what drives this country is that small business impact. I mean, people that are out there, you know, your veteran-owned business, your women-owned business, all the, it's just a really impactful thing to get those people. There's a lot of money in the federal government and we need a lot of good small businesses to make this work. So I look forward to coming out at some point again. Thank you for your time. I know you're all busy and this was kind of a busy time. I'm glad we're inside and not sitting out in the rain because I think it's going to rain this weekend again.
All over the place. Well, thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate it.